Very good afternoon to everyone. This just past month in November, I spent 3 weeks in Brazil to attend COP30. As you may know, this COP failed to produce the very concrete roadmap of decarbonization. At the end of 3 weeks of the meeting, President of COP from Brazil concluded that the transition pathway must follow science. What does it mean by science? This is the 30th COP of climate change. And the first time of this 30 years of history, the first time the pavilion hosts the science pavilion. They invited the globally known scientists like Johan Rockström, Carlos Nobre, and they alerted us that we are so close to get over the tipping points of the safe and the resilient planetary system. And the Amazon is also so close to become from the carbon sink to carbon source. That's where we are. And this morning, we hear from World Energy Council leader that we have been working for mitigation 40 years, and we failed. And actually, then now we now see the face that the adaptation challenge. That is the very important piece of information. So for this session, we want to discuss what does it really mean to Asia. Here, I just want to maybe share with them a few information. We hear this morning repeatedly, the Asia is a gravitational force of growth, and both that the growth rate and also population and the innovation. But we also hear that more than 80% of the power generation in Asia comes from fossil fuel. We also hear this morning that we need to also pay attention to the kind of mosaic of the Asia. Yes, it's a prosperous region, but also there are a lot of inequality and vulnerability issues. So what kind of transition, energy transition, we want to have in this Asia? So that then, and as you may know, this weekend, really this weekend, the cyclone hit the Southeast Asia, the Indonesia, Malaysia, Thailand, Sri Lanka, and now the death toll is rising from 400 to 600, almost 800, and 6 million people have been affected. That is a kind of consequences of our failing to harness this climate change, or our orderly transition from where we are. So we faced a huge conundrum in Asia. Growth center, a lot of prosperity, a lot of innovation, at the same time, the pocket of inequality, vulnerability, and how we can really come up with an effective transition pathway with all of those key stakeholders here together. So this is something we want to discuss, and with 4 panelists, and for next 30 minutes. So I just would like to maybe start with you, that Musaab, Almulla, Aramco, and then I know that Aramco has a very interesting decarbonization strategy, and you yourself has repeatedly mentioned that the energy transition is not just the climate change. We need to take care of equality, affordability, security, so it's a very complex agenda. And with that, I really would like to hear from you that how you want to strike this balance that for your the company, but also knowing that Aramco is a very important potential business partner as well as an investor. How you want to use your potential to drive the Asia's effective transition. So.
Yeah. Thank you so much, and great to be in Tokyo. Let me start stating the problem, as you correctly said. I think we are facing energy addition, not transition, and this is the reality today. If you look to the global forecast, you are talking about the energy will be added by around 23% by 2050, and mostly, as you said, happening in the emerging market. And this is the interesting part. And why this is interesting? Because the energy transitions formula in the emerging market completely different than the energy transitions in the advanced world. What does it mean, this mean to Asia specifically? And I don't think we can take Asia as one continent. I think we need to split between advanced economy, like East, I'm going to call it East Asia. Great example is Japan, where I think they are energy security, as Her Excellency Prime Minister mentioned today, and His Excellency Mr. Rayyan mentioned it. Energy security is very critical and important. And while they do pragmatic energy transitions and decarbonization plan, I think we see all this in the 7th energy plan announced back in February this year by Japan government. They clearly say there is a room for every single type of energy source. I think that's the key. And that's for the advanced economy. When we talk about Asia and that pocket, Japan, South Korea, and maybe China, they need energy security, that's very important, as well as decarbonization with a pragmatic approach, that's very important side. When you look to Southeast Asia, it's a different story, I think. I think today in the morning, we talked about it. Southeast Asia is facing basically, I want to call low consumptions of energy or lack of access to energy. If you look to a number, a very important indicator, you look to US today, the energy consumptions per capita, oil equivalent is around 22. If you talk a country like India, you are talking about around 4. And this is just a representation for the whole regions in Central and East Asia. Those countries need energy, so there is energy additions. Energy security is important, but energy affordability is very critical. Add to it petrochemical, because 95% of the goods today is coming from petrochemical material. What does that mean? These countries will require a lot of petrochemical because this is associated with the GDP growth. What does it mean to a company like Aramco? Aramco realized this in their strategy from day one, and that's why energy security is very important to us as a supplier of oil. And Japan is a good example. Japan is a big customer, as His Excellency mentioned today, around 40% of the oil coming to Japan coming from Saudi Arabia, from Aramco. And what does that mean? We have to make sure we have a reliable source of energy. Aramco reliability level was 100% 2025. If you remember, the incident happened back in 2019. It was hit by missile. Back in 2019, one of the biggest plant. And if the whole world think we're going to lose customers, we did not miss a single customer after that incident. Why? Because we think about resilience. We even build storage capacity in Japan just to make sure we don't lose a single customer. So this is how we deal on the advanced economy in terms of security. How we deal about the decarbonization part, we put a plan of net zero by 2050 ambition, but also we are the lowest carbon intensity. This is very important. What does it mean? We are 9.7 kilograms CO2 per barrel of production. And that means every barrel we produce with less than 10 ton CO2. The whole globe, if you talk about the whole oil and gas industry, are talking about 32. So we are far away from the other industry, and that means we are also bringing to the customer like Japan low carbon emissions oil, because people think oil is bad, that's it. No, oil can be distinguished between low carbon emissions and high carbon emissions. So that's very important to us. On the South Asia, I want to end here, I don't want to take a long time, is basically petrochemical. We are putting a plan for a big petrochemical plan, up to 4 million barrels per day of oil equivalents will go to the liquid to chemical. This is a new technology, by the way. You convert the crude directly to chemicals, so bypass the refinery. We built the biggest plants. There is also IP on that in South Korea. And also we are expanding it across the Asia.
Wonderful. I want to come back to you later that how you can really create a better market for those low intensity carbon products, because that's important thing. But maybe I want to go to Mr. Kanehara. Kanehana, because your company also have a very impressive carbon neutral strategy. But one of the focus, among other things, is hydrogen. And this really attracts a lot of attention, not only in Japan, Asia, but also globally. So that at the same time, we also understand it's a very challenging area, a very complex topic. You need a lot of the piece together. And you have been, until recently, the president of the Hydrogen Council. So you could please share with us that your challenge and how you can come up with a coalition to find a way to get commercialized.
Yep. Thank you very much, Ishii-san. And first of all, thank you very much. I'm very honored to be attending this important event. We, Kawasaki Heavy Industries, around 15 years ago, we established a strategy as a company to establish liquid hydrogen supply chain, because we have a lot of technology handling liquefied hydrogen. And as far as Asia is concerned, some estimate says by 2030, almost half of the energy consumed in Asia is consumed all over the world. 50% will be consumed in Asia. But unfortunately, many countries in Asia need the import energy from outside, like Japan, South Korea. Unfortunately, fossil fuel is located in a certain area all over the world. But the hydrogen can be produced in everywhere if they have renewable energy, like hydro, the wind, solar, or geothermal, you name it. So there are a lot of area all over the world who can produce very cost-competitive hydrogen. So we can carry this hydrogen into Asia. But still, at the moment, hydrogen is relatively expensive. So until we get the volume to reduce the price of the hydrogen, we need a support from the government. And I showed the example. Japanese government last year passed a law called the Hydrogen Society Promotion Act, which Japanese government will subsidize the price difference between hydrogen and the fossil fuel for 15 years, as well as they will subsidize the capex of a receiving terminal. However, the government cannot support forever. So we need volume to reduce the price. And also, at the moment, the highest portion is electrolyzer at the moment. In Saudi Arabia, this morning I heard 1 kilowatt less than 1 cent. So the renewable electricity is very reasonable. However, the electrolyzer cost is at the moment very expensive. So we need some technological innovation to reduce the cost of electrolyzer. And as well as the process to carry the hydrogen, we need to liquefy and put on a vessel, which we are working, but we need technological innovation to reduce that cost. And in Asia, again, this morning session, somebody mentioned coal power plant is a majority of Asian. And the Japanese, we have a technology to put the ammonia at the moment by 20% burn on the coal power plant. That will reduce the CO2. So we can export that technology to the Asian. And the most important thing is the carbon pricing, because the subsidiary will help to reduce the gap. However, we need some sort of carbon pricing. If you emit CO2, you must pay as a penalty. That the next year, Europe start the CBAM, but we need this kind of the regulation worldwide.
Thank you so much. It's very insightful that we talk about maybe the CBAM or kind of global coherent regulation framework to reward that a better company and also penalize the bad ones. So that it's going to be very challenging topic, but I'm glad that it popped up at our conversation. So now I may want to ask that Takahara-san, because you have a kind of secret pocket to do a lot of great things, and particularly for innovation side and difficulties and infrastructure gap. So you could please let us know that what JOGMEC can do to bring those important challenge and forward for Asia.
Thank you very much. It is first of all, I'd like to introduce my organization, JOGMEC, because the Aramco is a very world-famous company, and Moru and the Kawasaki industry is very famous, but you don't know the JOGMEC. JOGMEC is a Japanese public organization which has a special establishing role, 100% financed by the government. And our mission is about not only the fossil fuels and basic metals, we also cover the hydrogen, ammonia, CCS, geothermal, and wind power, and critical metals. And from my position, I would like to say, first, Japan is the only country from the Asia in G7 members. And the Japanese administration claims that the road to carbon neutral is various pathways. We have a lot of many kinds of the pathway to realize the carbon neutral. And the second thing I want to say is this is the first time for the human beings in terms of the history of energy transition, first time from high intensity energy to lower intensity energy this time. The Aramco-san is very, very successful to make use of the higher intensity energy and oil and gas compared with the coal or the firewood. But this transition is from the higher intensity energy, that is oil and gas and the nuclear, to hydrogen, ammonia, renewables. And we don't have, as of now, a commoditized market. So, as Kanehana-san pointed out, maybe we can say carrot and stick is important. Carrot is government subsidies and government support. Stick is a regulation, which the European people loves, you may know. But in the case of Japan, as the Kanehana-san mentioned, so Japanese administration has started subsidies focusing on the price gap between the fossil fuels and the ammonia and hydrogen. But we have, of course, the size of budget, as you may know. Ishii-san is before working for Ministry of Finance, and you know that we have austerity is very important. And the stick, maybe a carbon tax or something like that, is a new additional burden on the people, households, and the industries. It's not so easy to introduce. So we have started such a kind of the subsidies. But as you may point out that maybe not only the carrot, but also the stick is very important. But as I said, it's issues of a timeline, a time framework. So the Japanese administration said that we are going to introduce a carbon tax in 2033. So, but this is my point. We cannot squander the time. The Kawasaki heavy industry has as a advanced technology industry, advanced technology company. They have challenged a lot of things, and the government will support such a new challenges. And maybe policy frameworks and the timelines, maybe we can complete them maybe within 5 years, 10 years, and so on. But now is a time for the challenging the new business models and creating a fast movers and so on. So I appreciate it.
Thank you so much, and it's really a good leeway to Mr. Hashimoto, because I always appreciate that Hashimoto-san's leadership as that I think the MOL is the first Japanese companies who joined the Fast Movers Coalition of the shipping industry, which is a hard-to-abate sector. And this is a kind of unique coalition in those difficult sectors. How to create a coalition along the value chain, or sector and value chain, to make something not feasible or not profitable, to make it profitable. So that from that point of view, I think that Mr. Hashimoto could share a lot of things, but maybe one of the issues I think we all face is a bit of the collapse of the international coordinated framework. In your case, it's IMO. So Hashimoto-san, please share your story and challenge and story.
Okay. Thank you very much, Ishii-san. Your appreciation is very, very encouraging for us. Yeah, actually, when the Japanese government decided to define that our long-term goal is to achieve net zero by 2050, that we, more also as a company, wanted to commit that to find out the way to achieve the net zero by 2050. You are quite right that the shipping is a very, very hard to abate sector, and technically it's quite difficult. But under the quite strong leadership of the IMO, that we are quite brave to try to establish that the industrial standard that to materialize the net zero by 2050 by introducing the global framework for that. Unfortunately, that it was not approved this year. That, to be honest, it was a bit disappointment for us. But at the same time, that the lesson learned was that we are trying to do that really big challenge, and to be successful, that we need to involve so many people and companies and countries, so that perhaps that we tried a little bit that too fast, and then could not achieve that the global consensus that together with the US or Saudi Arabia and the many Middle East countries, and also that some Asian countries are a little bit reluctant to fully commit because that perhaps that our method and the target was not fully we could not fully convince the people. So at least the 1 year or perhaps 2 or 3 years that we need to wait. However, I feel that our long-term goal should not change, and that to be really successful, that we definitely need to reach that global consensus, which will be workable and acceptable for everybody, but at the same time that it must be a very efficient and practical way to achieve. So that it's a hard work, but I'm relatively optimistic that at the end of the day we can find the way to work together.
It's so encouraging to hear that, because I was so disappointed that when this IMO consensus kind of collapsed, because that's a rare kind of example that how the community come together to achieve something. So that then I was also wondering what's next. But so encouraging to hear from the president, the CEO, that the long-term goal stays as it is, and maybe that the lesson is how to involve the more people, stakeholders, to get the consensus more robust. Now we have only a few minutes left, so that we will now maybe touch upon the one or two important things from each of the speakers. And for you, Musaab, that last night over dinner we talked a very interesting thing that yes, you have this range of the product that traditional but also very low carbon intensity thing, but to take this off-taker really to make it kind of attractive to off-takers, there should be the combination of carbon accounting but also that regulation. Could you maybe explain, elaborate it? Because it's really important message from this table.
Absolutely. I think if you talk about a menu, for example, Aramco, they have a menu of products. We talked about the low carbon emissions footprint, which is oil and gas, but also they are to the point mentioned about hydrogen converted to ammonia. Aramco did the first pilot certified by third-party project with Japanese for 40 tons, small, but the idea is to pilot the technology and pilot the process. And we successfully did. It was for co-firing with coal plants in Japan. So I think we have that menu, but the whole idea is the cost and how you reduce the cost to scale up the production. I don't think there's a problem when you talk about a blue ammonia. We have gas, so we can convert it to blue ammonia with the right cost, with the right price. I think if there is offtake that require regulations to support it, I think the market will be there. But I will bring another product, which is important. If you look to the aviation sector today, Asia will be doubled by 2045. Will be doubled, the aviation passengers. Aviation is hard to abate, similar to the IMO topic. Hard to abate sectors, you have to find products, very important, and SAF is one. But there is low-carbon aviation fuel, which is leveraging the low-carbon intensity oil in refineries to produce low-carbon aviation fuels. It's recognized now by Corsia, but again, there should be off-takers and regulations to support scale up the LCAF. So I think carbon accounting, to your point, I want to be fast. Carbon accounting, there is no today carbon accounting to recognize the differentiation between different oils. There is no carbon accounting differentiating blue ammonia versus green versus other low-carbon products. And if we have that carbon accounting as a tool for the regulators, I think we will have a scale-up for this new energy technology.
Yeah, it's very much resonated with what Kanehana-san said, about the kind of need of the global carbon pricing. So if you have anything to add in this conversation to how to accelerate that kind of transition. Anything come up to your mind? Yeah,
I kind of repeat we need technological innovation. And today is a lot of investor gathering. So put your money into this technological innovation. And at the moment, the first mover, first runner, will get the technological advance. So if you bet now, you will get the return, I think.
The market works. Takahara-san?
The one was holding the fast movers, like the heavy industry and so on, the special relationship with the off-takers is very important. Because now we don't have the especially commoditized market. So we are subsidizing the companies which has a special relationship with the off-takers. Yeah, thank you.
And are we optimistic to create that kind of pathway or winning pathway? Are you? Good. So maybe final word from Hashimoto-san?
Yeah, therefore, for the time being, that we definitely want to continue that kind of the pilot projects. That even if that it will be relatively small scale, but that we really need to accelerate the momentum, and at the same time that I really want to accumulate that our experiences and the know-how that how to create the new technology and operate it. Therefore, that just we cannot do it alone. That we really want to work together with.
No, thank you so much. You know that as I think Takahara-san mentioned, we are at a very special stage of transition from the high carbon to low carbon kind of intensity. It's a very, very historic moment. And apparently no one country, no one industry, no one company can do it. That we all need a kind of coalition, that the partnership, and then the business and the government together, and maybe Hashimoto-san's point, all stakeholders also have to join that kind of co-creation of the new pathway. So with that, I would like to thank the audience and the panelists and the audience for this discussion. Thank you so much.
Thank you.